Okay. Um, in the last hour, we saw this, right? We see a problem in this line plot. Right? We see that they are like bouncing back and forth. Like it looks like they are some random noise because we are observing a trend, right? We don't want to see this noise that like kind of like disturb the trend, right? So how can we do is that? So we can actually debouncing the choppy trend line, right? We can do some debouncing. Now the way that we do the debouncing is kind of like doing moving average, right? You heard about this trend a lot, isn't it? Right? See, a way to remove the noise is to do average, right? You do some average, and then it actually can smooth the line, right? Doing average can smooth the line and remove the random arrow because the random arrow tend to offset each other, right? Tend to cancel out each other because they are random, right? So that random error during the average tend to cancel out each other. So we'll have a smooth line, right? So there are many different kinds of doing average, and uh, for our class, we just use the most easiest way to do the average, right? So we actually cut the period uh, into a black or white line of 5 years, right? Up to this point of time, you should see this this expression a lot of times, right? Okay, what does it mean? Sequence 1980, 2010, and 5. So what does that mean? It means that I want to create a vector, right? Starting from 1980, and then 1985, 1990, 1995, right? Now up to 2010, right? Okay, so this SEQ function code is to help you to create a vector of equal breaks, okay? So I set the break like this, and then as you can see that I filter out the years before 1980 and after 2010 because like before 1980s it's not comparable, right? Because before 1980 DC do not have activity, right? So if we want to compare DC and marble, the period that makes sense is between 1980 to here, right? 2010, isn't it? Right? So before you do the comparison, make sure you set the criteria for comparison, isn't it? The thing that you are comparing to each other must be comparable, right? The key word is comparable, right? If they are not comparable, then the comparison would become meaningless, isn't it, right? So only in this period, these two companies are comparable, right? 1980 and 1910. And I want to smooth the line by making an average for every 5 years, right? That's what I'm trying to do, right? So so let's go to the R Studio. As I told you, right? This thing is to just generate the just to generate this vector, right? So I have a break vector, And I will use this break vector to cut the period. The cut command is actually just like, you have the breakpoint, right? So you will cut the numbers into, you would cut the periods into, let me show you the result, okay? Oh, sorry, I should have done this. So I make a new data frame called D2, right? And within D2, I mutate a period variable. Then this is what it looked like. Right? I do a table, right, on the D2 period. Then you will see that. So you can see that in this D2 data frame, this period variable only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They only have 6 kind of values, right? And this is the count, okay? So the reason that I need to do as character and as integer, this is like kind of like unfortunate, because of this cut function code, it would produce a factor, right? And in order to convert a factor into integers, you need to convert into character and then back to integer, right? It's kind of complicated, but in R, this is the way that you need to do, right? It's kind of unfortunate, right? Because let me say it again, this cut function, it actually return a factor, right? Let me try to do this, so it's easier. I only have blacks, right? So if I simply do a cut, let's see what will happen, okay? Sorry, I need to put, sorry, let me do this directly. See, if I simply do this, it will actually, I think I should, so it's easier to see. It will simply return, see, the thing that it returns is something like this, right? It's, very ugly, right? Isn't it? This cut command, it actually can cut a value into different period, but the way that its output is in a very ugly format, right? Now, in order to translate this format back to these things, you need to like convert into character and then convert it back to integer, right? Okay. Because of time, I don't have time to explain the detail, but that's the way you need to do, right? Okay. So if in your homework you get into this situation, let's discuss this in the TA session. Would be more appropriate. Okay. So okay, in this D2 data frame, we have a period. We have a period column, and so things are easy, right? as long as we have this column, then we simply do, like, if we want to do, we can, if we simply do a, if we map period into X, right, and we use publisher as color, right, okay, so we can plot the bar plot actually, right, because there are only 6 period, right. When the number of period is like very small, actually bar plot can do the trick, right. So you can see that the trend of DC and also the trend of marble, right? Okay, you can see their trend, right? But in order to see the trend, actually line plot is better than bar plot. Okay, so let's do it in. This is line plot. Now in this line plot, I plot the trend of bad, good, and neutral, right? And this is the rate, right? So the x-axis is still period, but the y is actually the fraction of bad, good, and neutral, right? Okay, this is the plot that I want to do, and let's see the code. So if I want to like see the trend, right? I would like to see the trend that maybe is bad character getting more and more, or maybe they are getting more good character, or maybe they are getting more neutral character, right? I would like to find the trend, long-term trend. Yes, you can see that the neutral people has a slight increasing trend, right? And the good guys and bad guys, they are kind of like bouncing back and forth, kind of like that, right? So if I want to see a trend line like this, how do I do? You actually need to combine Dplyr and Ggplot, right? That's why we need to teach these two packages together, right? So usually they need to use together, and in a business analytics situation, they are very useful if you chain them together, right? So first of all, we want to do this, right? We do the count. We count D2 by period by a line, right? So after this, what would we see? This is what we see, right? For every period, every line, we will have a number, right? This is for 1985, and then we have 3 columns in 1990, right? Every year we have 3 rows. And then I group by period, and I mutate. Why am I doing this? What this group mutate are doing? Now there are 2 questions, right? And that's sense some we do not give out the gift yet, right? So what 2 questions. First of all, what is these 2 lines are doing? And the second question is why? Why did I do that? And what? Now, after I do this, right? After I do this count, I actually has a data frame like this, okay? I actually has a data frame like this. Every period, every line has a number, right? Okay. Right. So what is this 2 line doing? Are we comparing numbers? The first question is comparing number. Is it make sense? Right? Let's do this first. Does it make sense if we compare the number to see the trend? No. Why comparing numbers is not a good idea? So that now this two line basically they kind of like transfer counts into ratio, isn't it? You want to see that in each period, what is the ratio of good guys, bad guys, and neutral, right? This two line, the purpose is to transfer the count into ratio, right? So which one is better? If we compare, if I want to see the trend, should I see the count or should I see the ratio? Why? That is the question. Would it be the same? They would not be the same, right? Okay. Anyone? Okay.
Because in each year it's gonna be like different counts, right? So but we just wanna see we wanna see the comparison.
Right. If we want to make the period comparable, okay. If we just compare the counts, right? Because every period have different number of characters, isn't it? So we simply compare the count may not help us to see the trend, right? Okay, so this is important, right? When you want to do compare, you want to know the basics, you want to know the foundation of comparison, right? So in this case, we want to compare the trend of a line. I want to compare the trend of a line across period, right? If you want to do that, we want to make sure that the statistic that we are using are the same, right? Are the same across period, right? Isn't it, right? Now every period has different number of character, total number of character, right? So so if if in we know that in the years of 2000 they are they have fewer. You can see that, right? In 2000 we only have 659 right, character totally, right? So if we do not convert the count into the ratio, right? I will see a valley on here, right? But that is simply reflecting that in that period, the number of characters is decreasing, right? Because right now we are not comparing the total number of character, right? Right now we are comparing the ratio of a line. That is an important thing of doing comparison, right? You want to make sure that the foundation of comparison, right? The way you compare things are comparable, right? Okay? So if I only compare the count, it's not comparable to each other, a closed period, right? So I make the count into fraction, right? To make it comparable across the period. You get my point? Anyone? Still have question? It's okay, right? Okay. So in one sentence, the reason that we want to transfer count into fraction is that we want to make it comparable a closed period, right? Okay. Okay, so we do this and make it comparable. So this is the rate, right? This is the rate of bad, rate of good, and rate of natural. So that a closed period, they are comparable to each other, right? So and we plot it, then we can see the trend, isn't it? Right? So that is one thing that you need to be careful when you're doing line plot. When you're doing plotting, actually doing every kind of plotting, you need to be careful of this, right? Otherwise, you'll make the chart that doesn't make sense at all. Okay. Uh, Now let's go back to the. We are here already, right? Uh, so this is the trend for the entire population, right? I mean DC plus marble, right? So the question is the trend different between these two populations? So how to answer that? Okay. Okay. So actually I should make this exercise. You do it by yourself, okay? So as you now you can see the power of this Dplyr function count, right? So if I also want to compare publisher, I actually simply add publisher in the count, isn't it? Right? And then I can make a plot like this. So are their trend the same? Not exactly the same, right? Okay. The neutral guys, in general, DC has a lower fraction of neutral guy, but there has a trend, right? There's a continuous trend from 1995 that the number of neutral people are getting more and more, right? You can see that, right? So and as you can see that the marble has a very interesting pattern in good guy and bad guys, right? In the first half, actually, they have more bad guys than good guys, right? But in the last three period, it actually has more good guys than bad guys. So in this way, you can see the trend actually a lot easier, right? A lot easier, right? So I think I don't need to go through the code. It's kind of like very straightforward, right? Okay. Now instead of like doing adding one variable here, I actually need to group by it, right? I need to group by these two things to do the ratio, right? Okay, isn't it? And then I use Ggplot. The Ggplot is the same things except this one, right? I use facet, so I separate, right? I kind of separate DC from marble and plot it into two different panel, right? Okay. So you can do more, right? You can actually do this, okay? And this things is your exercise, okay? I'll leave you for your own exercise. You can do DC, marble, female, and male, right? So you want to track the trend, right, of the ratio of sex and align, right, by publisher. Right? I mean, this plot is actually try to discover the trend of sex and align by publisher, isn't it? Right? So this is the way to do it, right? And well, if you look into the notebook, you will actually see the answer inside the notebook. But I just want you to like do it, try to do it by yourself. Okay, this is a way of data exploration, right? By doing dplyr to aggregate the data to make the data in different shape, right? And then you kind of visualize the data frame in different shape by mapping the variable into the plotting elements attributes, right? You can basically do, well, virtually everything, literally everything that you can think of, you can plot it. Okay? So during your individual homework, during your team homework, right? The first thing of plotting is like, you need to have an idea, right? Before you plot it. Now, you should already know that you do not know how the line would go upward, downward, or whatsoever, but you should already have an idea about the structure of the. You should already have an idea about the structure of the plot, okay? And then you try to use the code to realize that plot. And if you have problem, right, in realizing your idea, right, okay, you can come to us, right? Come to TA, come to me, and let us help you, right? Okay, that is the only way that you can like get used to and have the fluency to make the useful plot from data, okay? I think I cannot teach you how to do that. I can only like show you the way it should be done, right? In order to like actually learn how to do this, you need to do it by yourself, okay? I have to emphasize that again, okay? So let's have a short conclusion about the ggplot. Sorry. So this is ggplot, right? It in one sentence, the purpose of ggplot is to map the column into the geom attribute, right? Is to map data frame column into geom attribute, right? So, but as I have shown you, right, in the example of last week and this week, right? If you do it right and you do it appropriately, it literally can show you whatever you want to show, right? You literally can compare whatever you can specify. Okay? Whatever you can specify, you can realize it. You have a problem doing that. Let's come to me, come to our TA, right? Let we help you, right? And it's in this process that you learn how to do programming, how to do ggplot, right? Okay. Now, after all, the reason that we are doing plotting, still remember this thing, right? This data processing pipeline, right? As I told you, right? You have a data frame called D, right? You put it into a pipeline. You put it into a pipeline like this, right? Okay? And at the end, you will like present something to help you make a decision, right? Isn't it? Right? This is the way we do business analytics, isn't it? Right? You have data, you process the data, you make the plot, like you present the plot, right? And that's the way to do it. So, as I told you that in the first half of our course, we are doing data explanation, right? We want to discover, we want to explain what we are now. We want to explain our company's situation. We want to explain our business environment. We want to explain the different kinds of our customer, right? We want to know their characteristics, right? But remember that when you are doing exploration, before you explore, you don't really know the result, isn't it? Right? So if I want to compare the trend, maybe they are different, maybe they are not. But before you do the exploration, you do not know it in advance, isn't it? Right? So exploration is all about comparison, as I told you, right? But before you actually see the comparison, you cannot tell what is the real situation, isn't it? Right? So you need to like, it does not have a very specific purpose or direction or objective, right? You just explore it. And when you see something interesting, you want to dig in, isn't it? Right? What I mean by dig in is like this. If I see something interesting in this, right? I want to see this, right? If I see something interesting in this, I want to see this. Isn't it? Right? When you explore from the top level, right? You do some global observation, right? And then after that global observation, if you see something interesting, something kind of like informative or impactful to your business, right? Then you can use this. You can use Dplyr, you can use Ggplot to help you dig in and find more information, right? Okay, so business data exploration is not it's not only about the global trend, global structure, global phenomena. It's also about the depths. Okay? It's about that when you see something interesting, you can actually dig into that specific region and like find more insightful, more impactful, right? More insight, more important insight that would guide your strategy. That is the point of business exploration in business analytics, right? And in this process, it's not just data. Let me emphasize this, okay? Someone would say that the quantitative analysis is objective, right? It's like I'm showing what data told me, right? It's no subjective idea in that. But that is not true, okay? When you are doing the chart, you actually showing the way to present the data, right? Still remember the bar plot that we are talking about in the last hour, right? Like the same table can be plotted in 6 different ways, right? The same objective data, remember this? This same data, 6 number, right, can be presented in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They can be presented in 6 ways, okay? Depends on what you want to emphasize, isn't it? Right? So actually, this thing is not just objective data analysis. It actually need to choose the aspect, the perspective that you want to present your data, right? Okay, so your subjective interpretation is important, right? So this is not just data analysis. This is your subjective interpretation is also involved. Okay. Do you know a guy, a philosopher, maybe not philosopher, sociologist called Max Weber? It's kind of a very, very famous German sociologist, right? He actually do not like the term of social science, right? Okay, he say a thing, right? Because social science is that the human society is investigating itself, right? So it cannot be totally subjective. Sorry, it cannot be totally objective, right? Talking about social, right? Science is insufficient, right? Okay, you always need to. It always involves subjective interpretation, right? Let me say it again. When it involves business, when it involves anything that when we are doing the social affair, right? When the subject of study, when the subject of study is human, is society, is company. Actually, nothing is really 100% objective. Okay, nothing is really 100% objective, right? You always have to put in your like subjective interpretation when you are making the plot. Okay, and that is important. But how? Okay, that is the question, right? How? What is the proper way to apply my subjective interpretation? Well, it needs the training of your domain knowledge, isn't it? Right? That's why I keep on saying that business analytic it's not just programming, it's not just data analysis, right? You need to put data analysis skill and your domain knowledge together so that you can do an appropriate interpretation of the data. You got me? Okay. So this is the one thing that I would like to emphasize before we leave Ggplot. And another important thing that I would like to emphasize is the most important thing of plotting, of charting, is just one word, a short word, fun, right? if you do not have fun, you will never do a good chart. Okay? So plotting is about fun, right? It's about interesting. It's this enthusiastic type of attitude that you want to. You first of all, you want to have that attitude, right? You need to like to plot before you can make a good plot. I should say that. Okay? You need to like to plot. You need to like. And actually, plotting. In my slides, I will give you a reference. Right? There are many different type of visualization tool. And because of time, I can only show you a few of them. Right? If you go to this website, it actually like have every different kinds of different tool. For example, if I want to plot this, I just click here. Why it should work, right? Let me do it again. Okay. What? It looks like the website is broken. Yeah, if you click on each of the block, it will show you something. But Oh, okay. So this visualization, you work this way, right? If I want to make a plot like, for example, like this one, it's called 2D density, right? So there's R, there are Python, there are D3.js, right? So for our example, you can plot this, and then it should bring you to, yeah, different type of 2D chart, right? So if I want to, for example, if I want to see this, then it should actually show you the code, right? Right? Okay. So if you want to make the chart like this, right? You can actually like go to this thing. It's like a gallery, right? So you have different chart types, and then right. So you just pick one, and then it will show you the code to make this chart, right? Isn't it? Right? Well, it may not work in your data, but I told you, right? Nowadays, no one writing program is from scratch. Okay. You go to this gallery, and if you see something that you want to plot, right? You can actually copy the code and then try to apply it to your data. And if you have problem in doing that, I told you already, like, come to me, right? Come to our TA. We'll help you do that, right? Okay? So have fun. Have fun with the data. It's important, right? Apply your domain knowledge. Apply your uh, creativity, right? Okay? Domain knowledge, creativity, and the enthusiastic learning attitude, right? Is the thing that you would learn, that you would need to be a good data analyst. Okay? Okay, so with that, I will conclude my talk about Dplyr and Ggplot. Any question? Okay, so let's take a break. Because for better continuity, right? Let's break now, and let's get back to the class in 11:05. Okay. And these are in the PowerPoint slides last week, right? I mean, this thing is in the PowerPoint slides last week. Okay.